We've all had that roommate who was a little weird, but some of these stories, these roommates will make you want to live alone forever. Bad roommates are one thing. Messy, loud,
I may be a little annoying.
these are straight up nightmare material. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Celine. These roommates are a bit psychotic, weird, creepy, disgusting. Tonight we are reacting to Reddit's creepiest roommate stories. Let's dive in. My old roommate was dating a good friend of mine. One day, after her spending the night, they went out for lunch. His dog came out of his room with a tissue in her mouth. I stopped her, grabbed it, and went to throw it out when my hand felt really wet. It was a fully loaded, and when I grabbed it, I guess I squeezed it because my hand was now covered in my roommate's. It's been years and I still haven't told him about it. Oh my god. Ew, 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 ew. That is so disgusting, but oh my god. I had a few roommates when I was living in the dorms my freshman year in college. They were good people all in all, and we had some good times, but as with just about every college experience for most of us, there was one guy who liked to drink.
A lot.
One night I came home at like 3 in the morning to find our drunk roommate just standing over one of our other roommates' beds. Staring at him awkwardly in this odd Walking Dead looking stupor, I could tell that he was plastered because he was kind of rocking around in silence in the dark. Honestly, it was a bit creepy, so I called out to him in a whisper, "Mike." He turned his head towards me relatively quickly, head bobbing all around, and slowly raised his finger in front of his mouth and quietly shushing me like Elmer Fudd hunting rabbits. He held his finger there for another few seconds and nearly incoherently muttered, "This guy." If you could permit me to quickly paint a picture of what Mike looked like and what Rob looked like, you would understand why this was a huge problem. They were as polar opposite as you could imagine in just about every capacity. Mike was a surfer from Los Angeles, shorter, skinnier kid with long hair and a stoner attitude.
Tasty waves, cool buzz, and I'm fine.
So I guess Rob is who the bed belongs to. Rob, on the other hand, grew up on a farm and was substantially larger and substantially more fit than Mike, and he never f***ed around. Dude was serious, always. Now Mike must have already had it out without me noticing because he was primed and ready to fire without me even realizing what was going on. He was gonna pee on the bed. All I heard was the sound of water hitting cloth. Oh no, he was peeing. And that's when I saw it. He started to pee on Rob. Oh, on Rob! Rob was in the bed! I don't know, somehow I thought he was standing over an empty bed and Rob wasn't home. I don't know why I thought that. Who up until that moment was fast asleep. Oh my god, no. Rob, waking up to what he thought was just warm water, quickly realized what was happening and proceeded to jump out of the bed and grabbed Mike, who was still peeing on him up until this point. And threw him across the room. He looked like a rag doll bouncing off the wall, hitting the desk below, and then onto the ground. Mike didn't say a word. He stood up, quietly tucked himself in, and proceeded to walk right past Rob and climb back into his bed. What? Rob looked at me, looked at our other roommate who was now awake behind me, and looked back at Mike. All of us had this dumbfounded look on our face except Mike, who was of course within seconds already starting to quietly snore. Wow, he was that far away that he would just go back to bed while he was smacked to the wall and passed out completely. I honestly will never forget the sight of Rob standing there in the middle of the room with urine dripping down his face, off his shoulder and down his arms. Oh, this is so disgusting. With this absolute befuddled look on his face, as he tried to process what the f just happened. I think it angered him more to hear Mike snoring because he angrily turned to his bed and tried to wake him up by shaking him violently at first and then hitting him in his back, arms and head. Nothing. Mike was out cold. He was punching him afterwards. The rest of the year went as you could imagine. It was an experience. Oh, there's more. Because someone asked, I can't imagine. Please tell. Well, the personality conflicts between Rob and Mike were boiling just under the surface, pretty much from the first day they got there. After the incident though, gloves were off for Rob. Mike would leave his clothes all around all the time, and whenever a piece of clothing ended up on Rob's side of the room, Rob would just throw it out of the window. whatever it was. One day Mike's nice leather jacket went flying out of the window. I'm sure he never even apologized. Maybe he doesn't even know what happened. I wouldn't be surprised. That was kind of his thing. He just tossed Mike out of the window all the time. Seems like Rob was not a nice guy himself as well, so, but yeah. Anyways, I used to have a few roommates. I think I had 4 or 5 in total, and it was not because you wanted to swap constantly from roommate, but sometimes life gets in the way and you have to get a new house or your contract ends and the other person is leaving the country maybe, or whatever their plans are. So you swap roommates for a bit. And after a while, you start to appreciate certain people and certain traits. Things that you never thought about before. To be honest, I wasn't the perfect roommate myself, especially not when I was like 21, 22. I was not very tidy. So yeah, I can imagine that I was a bit annoying myself. So I'm not saying that I was the perfect roommate, and maybe I'm still not. I had a friend with benefits that I'd go out drinking with and spend the night with. She came to my apartment that night, and I woke the next morning to my roommate standing in the doorway staring at us. I have no idea how long he had been there. Oh my god, that's so creepy.
What?
I have many stories of my college roommates, but one that stands out the most was the shower incident. My girlfriend and I were renting a house with a female friend who liked to play fast and loose with the term hygiene. From this point on, she'll be known as the barista. Interesting. We were fairly accustomed to the less than ideal odors that would waft gently around the barista, such as when she adopted a diet consisting entirely of hard-boiled eggs, or the nutmeg incident. So she was eating hard-boiled eggs only. The house we were sharing was built in the 60s and we had separate bathrooms. The barista's bathroom was genuinely highness in both smell and appearance, with used tampons and other feminine detritus scattered around. As a result, it took us a while to realize that the smell of raw sewage belching forth from her side of the house was not in fact her fault. Okay. One day my girlfriend and I were watching TV while barista was at work, and we heard an ominous gurgling noise from her bathroom. Shortly thereafter, we were assaulted by the smell of raw sewage that was so strong it caused my girlfriend, at the time an autopsy technician, to literally dry heave. Clearly an investigation had to be mounted, so we made the journey into the barista's room, stepping cautiously to avoid the use and other keepsakes in her biohazard collection. Ew. When we arrived, we discovered that raw, chunky sewage was liberally bulbing up from the drain in barista's shower, which was so coated in hair mold and stains it looked like a modern art masterpiece. The smell was horrific that we immediately called the landlady. When the barista returned home from her shift, she was horrified that the lawn had been turned up to expose her shitty Orangeburg sewer pipes that had been nearly entirely blocked by tree roots. So what, they already opened it all up? That was fast. Tree roots were blocking the sewage, and that's why this happened. Since the barista's bathroom was the closest to the sewer main, the backups had been bubbling up in her bathroom for months without the rest of the house being aware. We had asked her if she had noticed the issue, and she mentioned that the sewage regularly bubbled up from the drain while she was showering. Her response: "I just squish it back down with my feet. Ew, 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 ew." No.
Oh my god, that is so disgusting.
I had a roommate who would frequently knock on my door lightly a single time at midnight while I was already in bed. Oh my god, that's so creepy. I caught him one time and asked him what was up, and he said nothing and walked back to his room. I slept with the door locked for a while. Oh my god. So he would just, when you would lay in bed, he would like knock lightly on the door, and then, oh my god, that's so creepy. I had a housemate who was much older than me. He stalked me on Facebook. He kept asking me why I didn't talk to him and kept telling me he was trying to be my friend. After I told him that he gave me the creeps, he didn't stop. He actually started knocking on my door at odd hours of the night. The first chance I got, I moved out of there. Oh my god, that's so creepy. One roommate kept a dead bird she found in the freezer for over a year. She would get mad if anyone touched it or asked about it. She found it and kept it in the freezer. She found a dead bird and kept it in the freezer. So it was not even her bird as a pet and it died and she put it in the freezer, which is still weird. But she found a dead bird and put it in the freezer. Oh my god. And sometimes you were just not prepared for the worst roommate in your life. wiped her ass with my towels and my shower curtain, was a hoarder, and her stuff overran into my room and into the living room. She stole my food, and even though the college had a talk with her about it, walked around the apartment, left a magazine on my bed, left the sink full of dishes and refused to clean them because they're not my dishes, even though she was the one that dirtied them up. Puked on those dishes one night after making the spaghetti sauce and pineapple monstrosity of a dish. Rehearsed pineapple spaghetti sauce smells horrible, by the way. Stole my other roommate's care package and ate everything in it. Skyped to guys on live chats. Once lived with a guy who played video games pretty much 24 hours a day in his room and only came out to eat eggs. Only eggs. And only 6 to 12 eggs fried into a massive egg, then would take the entire family-sized pan into his room. Only time I ever saw him. That's so random. I had a dorm roommate in college that started out as my friend and gradually decided she hated me and all of her other friends over the course of the first semester, leading to her refusing to speak to me about 90% of the time. At some point after had started to get tense, I woke up one Saturday to see her sitting on the bed staring at me. I said,
Good morning?
She said,
Why do you always fall asleep on your side but wake up on your back?
me,
I don't know. I always do that.
her.
Yeah, every night.
Oh. Then she left the room. I'm amazed she didn't knife me in my sleep. Also, having it brought up to my attention, she was right, which was even creepier. Oh my god. She sounds really creepy. I had one roommate leave and quickly scrabbled to get someone to take over his half of the lease. My desperation forced me to room in with a guy I barely knew who turned out to be super gross. Dude rarely showered, never cleaned his bathroom, and I would occasionally find him in my room using my computer.
What are you doing on the computer?
The kicker was he got fired from his job as a massage therapist for making a woman cry. Oh my god. Weird people. I had a roommate that I caught more than once watching me sleep. What is with these weird people? Why would you watch someone sleeping? That is so strange. If you had these experiences with people, you'll make it work. Somehow you will manage to live alone. I understand this is not for everyone. If they had a really bad experience, I think they will think twice and maybe just suck it up and pay a bit more, maybe a bit more than they can afford, but at least they are alone. And I mean, your home is your safe space, and if you're not comfortable there, like when you're 21, nobody cares, but I think after 25, you just can't deal with it anymore. It's impossible. You need your home to be calm. If you come home to a stressed environment or you're annoyed or whatever, it's taking all of your energy. I woke up and he was standing next to my bed in his underwear, sort of swaying back and forth and moaning while furiously eating sugar packets. There were at least 50 empty packets of sugar on the ground. Edit, this was in rehab. I really didn't know the guy. What? I had a college roommate who most certainly had a mental disorder. Some examples: she was convinced that the government was swapping out her eyeballs and got a new passport photo every month to prove that her eyes were different colors. She kept stacks of these photos and would lay them out to show the difference in color. There wasn't. She once bought a ton of chicken legs from Costco but never ate them. When we asked, she explained that the government had secretly swapped them out for turkey legs and she doesn't eat turkey. She got some bruises on her leg that she didn't remember getting. We joked that we had gone into her room at night and punched her leg. For the rest of the time she lived with us, we would hear her moving her furniture against the door at night. She wouldn't believe us when we said it was a joke. Oh, that's bit sad. She doesn't sound okay, to be honest. She would get STD tests every few weeks, even though she almost never had boyfriends. She was worried that people were infecting her secretly when she took naps during class. She would stand on a porch staring at the ground for hours, staying dead still like a cat staring at the wall. The only explanation we ever got was, "I'm just making sure." Apart from the weirdness like that and other examples, she was actually a good roommate, always friendly, never missed a rent payment, and was very clean. Yeah, reading that and realizing she had an undiagnosed mental disorder makes me really sad. Yeah, it sounds like it. Doesn't sound normal. Alright, that's enough nightmare roommates for today. Which story creeped you out the most? Believe it or not, these aren't even the worst stories. There's so much more to be found. If you enjoyed hanging out, drop a comment of which one you found the worst roommate. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye!